Yeah, and so we're going to hear from Priya a couple of times tonight, and we're also going to hear from the amazing Vashini about, you know, how her life has been impacted being on temporary protection visas for a decade. And we all know Vashini, she's Priya's best friend who has been campaigning with us, and we all know and love her, and looking forward to hearing some of her story very, very soon. But we will, we do just want to sort of hear what's happening for Priya. As she was saying, she's, you know, back to life and, you know, life in Billow. Yeah. And driving.
So I think we might do this as a bit of a Q&A. So we'd love you all to, see what Bronwyn and I have been seeing. So Priya, what's the tricky thing that you've decided to learn how to do?
Driving. My driving is previous parking.
It's exciting to sort of see Priya learning to drive and around the school drop off, and you know, we get to see Priya's having a lesson.
My fault, I'm waiting 10 years too late.
Learning anything when we're older gets harder.
Who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Priya? Come on.
Now, one of the things I loved is actually getting to watch and witness Priya in the garden. Do you want to tell everyone about your garden?
My gardening grows good. It's now eggplant, beans, everything grow. I cooking in my own vegetable.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yes.
And she makes the lest chai tea. We love popping over for chai tea of an afternoon. It's been amazing.
And I think what everyone is probably dying to know is how the girls are going. So how are the girls doing?
Girls is so happy, friends in the school, particular Bronwyn kids love my kids. It's so good, enjoy. Everybody call auntie, uncle, grandma, grandpa is very happy. Girls now learning so much now.
And little Kopika, her favourite subject is maths. She's definitely one for numbers. She is absolutely devastated that they are about to go on school holidays again. I'd say she's one of the very few children in Australia who hates holidays. And we've been trying to convince her it's going to be fun. We're going to go swimming and we're going to go to the park. But she loves school, yes. And little Tani, her favourite is she says everything. So I think she does. She just absolutely loves doing the art and the reading, and they're just both got such a thirst for knowledge.
Yeah. And Nadez is enjoying work?
Yes, back to me purpose.
Yeah. And that's working really well.
Yeah, I enjoy. Girls is Nadez is got hard worker, enjoy.
Yes.
And Nadez can't join us tonight because he is at work. So he works night shift, which means that he's able to take the girls to and from school during the day. And then Priya and Nadez get some much needed quality time during the day after spending 4 years constantly with their girls.
Yeah, I'm sewing now daytime, my study. But now it's a little bit busy.
Yeah, that's right, because you're going to TAFE as well.
You're
learning English there.
Yes. And making beautiful clothes, as we've all seen. Yeah.
And doing some mending for friends, hey, occasionally.
Or new dresses for summer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to add, Priya, that you're sort of doing?
No, I'm my talking
Talk later.
No, talking the washing.
When Vashini comes. Yeah, awesome. So I suppose the one of the main reasons we sort of pulled everyone together again tonight, not just to sort of catch up and see how Priya is going, but is we need to understand why 31,000 people who have been part of our community for a decade need to have permanent visas now. So, if we come to a new country in search of safety, the most serious decision that a government official can make is whether or not the danger that we're escaping means that we have the right to stay here. So a fair decision can absolutely make the difference between living a life of safety or being forced back to violence and torture and perhaps even death. Now, in Australia, back in 2014, when Scott Morrison was Immigration Minister, and only Immigration Minister, we think, he made some really big changes to our migration laws. He introduced a system, ironically called a fast track system, that was actually, I think, designed to fail. It was designed to punish people fleeing danger, not protect them. And one of the things that happened under these new laws was the removal of the Refugee Review Tribunal. So that was an independent review tribunal. In Australia, when government departments make decisions that have huge impacts or very serious impacts on our lives, our laws give us the right to have an independent tribunal check that that decision was made in a fair and proper way. So Scott Morrison, under those changes, he took away the right for that to happen for some asylum seekers in Australia. What he did was he created a separate government body to review refugee decisions for people who came by sea during a certain time frame. And this body is called the Immigration Assessment Authority. It's a government body checking on a government body. So most of the time it's a rubber stamp. It's actually not a fair and proper review that had come from an independent tribunal. And Priya is one of many people who was actually really impacted by those changes, because it meant that she had just one chance to explain why Sri Lanka is such a dangerous place for her. And I remember Priya, like on the day that immigration officials interviewed you, you know, she was 18 months pregnant. That's a long time to be pregnant. 8 months pregnant, you'd been in hospital the night before with a migraine. And then Priya was interviewed by phone, obviously, because she was in Billow. So, and then she had an interpreter, was on another phone line somewhere else. Her legal people were, her lawyer was on another phone line somewhere else. And that line. The interpreter.
Sydney.
That's right. Yeah. So the interpreter kept dropping out. So that was the one that kept dropping out.
And then the assessor was on another line.
And then the assessor was on another line. So imagine trying to explain the hardest things that you've ever been through in your lifetime under those circumstances. So it's easy to see how things could have got missed in the capturing of the information that was needed to be assessed, right? But because of Scott Morrison's changes to the laws, the Immigration Assessment Authority, which is supposed to, you know, check those kind of things, all it had to look at when it reviewed it was the paperwork. It didn't have to speak to Priya or anyone else involved or get any other context. So that was it. One chomp at the cherry, done. So Priya wasn't allowed to provide any extra information that had been missed or new information or explain her story to the officials at all. An independent tribunal, however, they would have been able to look at the whole decision and review it fairly. So the only option left to Priya, which is the option we took, was to prove in court that a technical or administrative error had been made. And even in that case, as we know, the courts can't decide whether you're a refugee or not. They can't grant you a visa. They can only look at the fact that those technicalities weren't followed or were the errors were made and send it back to the department to go and for them to, review again. So the good thing is that the Albanese government has promised to abolish this ridiculous Immigration Assessment Authority and create a new tribunal, hopefully independent, that can review refugee decisions in a fair and proper way. And that will be wonderful moving forward, right? But this still leaves thousands of people living in fear that they could be forced from Australia to danger, even though they've been living and working in our communities for the last 10 years. So that's why we're calling on the Albanese government to give safety, stability and permanence to all 31,000 people who have been subjected to Scott Morrison's ridiculously unfair system. Those people who have been here for a decade, they're our work colleagues and our neighbours and our friends. And Scott Morrison's migration laws have destroyed certainty and safety for all of them. Thousands of people who are recognised as refugees. It is ridiculous. Enough is enough. And instead of making a decision once and granting a permanent visa to allow refugees to get on with rebuilding their lives, what Mr. Morrison changed in our system meant that people were forced to continually prove over and over and over again that they were still in danger in their country of origin. So every 3 years, 2 years, 6 months, they still have to continually prove that they are in danger. I wonder why we've got such an administrative backlog. I mean, seriously. So no one can explain that better than someone who is living it now. And so shortly we're going to hand over to, as I said, Priya's best friend, Bashini, who is still living with that temporary protection situation hanging over her head. So, yeah, I'll hand over to you, Bashini, and I'll let you explain to everyone just what that's like.
Thank you, Bronwyn. Thank you for your wonderful explanation. It's not a wonderful explanation, that the explanation of the process, and you explained perfectly. And thank you everyone for coming here today. And so nice to see you all after a while. I'm also in a temporary protection visa, and I live in this community for 10 years now. It's just not me. There's 30,000 people living in this situation that affecting their daily life and affecting their mentally that they can keep up going with this. And my life been, I'm a small village from Sri Lanka, and the uncertainty situation, the unreset situation passed from my grandparents to me. So it's like it's generationally coming, because we've been living in a war situation. We've been running out the home and hiding in the jungle and coming back and going back to the jungle, then again coming back. So this unresisted situation, that if I have to choose myself, that's happening to me almost like 30 years. And after a decade ago, I came to Australia with the hope that this could end for me, and this could end this situation for my family and for other people also, same with the hope that they can feel safe and they can have certainty in their life. But it's been 10 years that, there's no answer. We just have to keeping up our hope every day, but we come to the point that we can't do that anymore. We need a solution right now. And I don't want to be called my entire life I'm a refugee. Like, even in the Sri Lanka, I didn't have the right to say this is my home, like, this is my homeland. I was always
Sorry, Jeannie, just froze for a second. Could you just repeat that last little bit you said?
Sorry, sure. So throughout my whole life, I didn't have the land to call this is my home, because of Sri Lankan government, that they have so much discrimination against Tamil people. They always treated with the basic, without a human rights. So I wanted to call that, Australia is my home, and I wanted to be more than refugee. I wanted to be, I'm a mother. I have 3 children, and I am I'm your neighbor. I'm a friend of someone. I'm a wife, and I'm a daughter. So I had enough being called refugee, and I wanted to do something good in my life, that I have to contribute to my community. Not just me. There's a people 30,000 people wanting to do something. My husband is a carpenter. And if you look at workplace, they're looking for carpenter people. And why you can't use his skill that already in here? And I'm a childcare worker. I'm an early childhood educator. And also there's a place that people are looking for childcare worker as well. And so many of other people in our community working as aged care, childcare, cleaners, carpenter, all the industry that Australia are looking for right now. So why can't our government understand this and take, step forward and give all of them what we need, and we can still participate in our community and still be continuing to contribute our community. So, I read sometime in the article that Australia has lost its way with treating refugee people, but I don't believe that, because look at Priya family today. They came home because a lot of the people stood up for them, stand up for them, and people are here today. You have that feeling that we are also human being, and we have to have a same human rights. So people like you are matter, and people like your words are matter, because politics in a power because people have selected them. So I'm asking you today, you have the power to ask. You have the power to ask the politician to change this situation, and you have the power to give us a better life. You have so much more than me, that and I wish I'm asking everyone kindly that ring your MP and ring your politician today, and end this suffering. It's not just me. There's 31,000 people living in this limbo situation, and I hope this message will get to the people and get to the politician, and they can end this situation for us. Thank you. And now, sorry guys, I'm a little carried away. So now I'm gonna do the introduction of the video, but that happened in Sydney rally. And also, before we hear from Priya again, I would like to share the powerful speech made by 2 young Tamil people at recent rally in Sydney. Thank you to Tamil Refugee Council for giving me permission to share this video. And the 2 young children was Kumaran, who's 19 years old, had to leave Tamilam at age of 5. And to this day, his mother, only one he left in the family, who is on bridging visa, waiting to be granted permanent visa. Another young children, younger one is Nidarshini, who is 11 years old, was born in Australia, yet her parents and all sister are waiting to grant permanent protection. So we're gonna see a little video of them that talking in a Sydney rally.
Vanakkam and good afternoon. Before we begin our speech, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I work, live, and recognize their continuing connection to land, water, and community. I pay respect to elders past, present, and emerging. Sovereignty has never been ceded. It always was and always will be the Aboriginal land, as we recognize the past atrocities against Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, and that they are still struggling, and that Australia was founded on the genocide and dispossession of First Nations people. In 2009, when it was the peak of the genocide, my parents took a huge risk. Sacrificing their lives in Tamil Eelam, my parents left behind their relatives and the home they had lived in for many years to seek asylum in Australia. They had to walk on a bridge full of dead bodies and finally left in a tiny boat with dire conditions, including a limited supply of food and water. The boat was packed with hundreds of people, including my older sister, who was only a few months old. Today, I am 11 years old, and growing up, I have realized that life as a refugee is different and much harsher than that of citizens. Refugees don't have many opportunities in comparison to citizens. Jobs are usually not given to people who have this immigration status. Sometimes, because they think that refugees are incompetent, refugees are underpaid or even slaved. However, this is extremely unfair. Kumaran will share his story.
In 2006, 53 Tamil girls aged 16 to 18 years old and 3 teachers were killed, and more than 100 were injured from a bombing at an orphanage in Centrale. Those children were studying and had plans on supporting and strengthening their community. I was 3 years old at the time and lived nearby. The Sri Lankan military had killed more than thousands of innocent Tamil people, and the Sri Lankan government's treatment towards Tamils is extremely unfair and discriminatory. In the peak of genocide in 2009, more than 100,000 Tamils were killed from constant shelling in the so-called no-fire zone in Mullivaikkal, and also targeted systematically to be tortured to death. I had to leave my homeland, Tamilulam, with my younger brother and mother when I was 5 years old. We came to Australia by boat in the hopes of a better future. A boat full of Tamils who had no choice but to leave behind their home in order to survive and seek the freedom and hope they lost. There were many days where we would experience cold nights wearing gloves so our hands wouldn't go numb. Food shortages where parents would have to starve themselves whilst feeding their children biscuits, which was the only food available at the time. And running out of fuel, being stranded in the middle of the ocean and not knowing what will happen next. Yet we never lost hope. We found help and were taken to the coast of Australia. After 30 days on the boat, we were taken to a potential home. Everyone was interviewed on their reasons for fleeing the so-called civil war. It was not a civil war. It was and is a genocide perpetrated against Tamils. Whilst our cases were being processed, we were kept in detention centres for 2 years and were released on community detention in Brisbane. Later, we were allowed to settle down in Melbourne until we were suddenly taken to Sydney and were put back in another detention centre. Life in detention centres is unpredictable and refugees aren't told how long they will stay there. It is a process that is always uncertain and questionable.
Why should this happen to someone because of something they can't control? As well as that, students who are refugees have many unfair disadvantages. They come to Australia, usually without knowing English. Sometimes teachers at school will support these children, but the education system does not tend to always support the vulnerable refugee children. Students that are refugees are also often refused from going to a school that they should be able to go to. For example, last year I did the OC test and I achieved a score high enough to get into the school, but I wasn't accepted because I was a refugee. However, it was much more complicated. I had only gotten my result after my mum had called and expressed how unfair this was, 2 days after everyone else had gotten their result. Adapting to a new country can be extremely hard, as well as just thinking about leaving your homeland. But the Australian government only makes it worse for individuals and families like mine.
Nidhishi is correct. For instance, my brother and I received our citizenship, but our mother is still on temporary visa, and her case has been pending for over 10 years. 10 years like many other refugees who are standing here. Many refugees are billed and are expected to pay wages that are the same for citizens, but yet are not given the chance to be granted with citizenship, leaving them to be treated unfairly. These cases take a very long time, and refugees are often updated on their cases, leaving them with the continuous fear of it being refused and being taken out of a country they had risked their lives for and had lost part of their freedom, spending years in detention centres. There are separate detention centres holding children and women in one, and men in another. Children unable to spend much time with their fathers, and have to see other children leave, not knowing if they are free or back in danger. This leads to them experiencing anxiety at a young age. Children who are below the age of 18 do not need to feel anxious or endure any sense of mental health issues, but instead feel a sense of security and safety. Children are the most affected by the refugee system.
Moreover, from what Kumaran has said, most refugees have to live in detention centres for over 8 years. Detention centres are pure torture. In some cases, people are separated from their own families and can only see them on weekends or never. Most detention centers have so much security, and often you are not allowed to leave the detention center at all. This is unless you are approved for a huge reason, like a medical issue, which still probably won't be approved. The time spent in a detention center can range from a few months to over 10 years. Just imagine, 10 whole years of your life are wasted away from your family in a detention center. 10 years is more than you can imagine. It's usually an eighth of a person's life. It's these inequitable, agonizing things that can lead to mental issues.
This whole process is unfair and causes serious mental health issues. Every month there are deaths of refugees just from the Tamil community. Just from this month, we have endured at least 2 deaths from our community. And earlier this year, we endured at least 4, and this has been an ongoing pattern. A pattern where our refugees are slowly but surely losing hope and going to the extreme of taking their life, instead of living in a brutal system that was not made for them. Refugees are victims of this immigration system that was built on racist laws. But it is with the support of those who stand beside us that push us to keep going.
This year, a Tamil family, better known as Priya and Nadesh, were released from detention centers. This is amazing and shows hope for the rest of the Tamil community. But it has been over months, and the Australian government has forgotten that there is more than one family in this situation. There are over hundreds, if not thousands of families and tens of thousands of individuals who are seeking asylum in Australia. They need refuge and a stable status where they are not on the verge of being deported at any time. They need permanent protection as well as being released from detention centers. We will achieve this together when all of us use our voice in all of these events like today. We have strength and we will use it to get what's right. We will continuously fight until we all get permanent protection and no more detention centers. Refugees have been mistreated and denied human rights for years. This is not okay. We need justice once and for all.
I'm thankful for the opportunity Australia has given us and the local communities who have continued to support and visit us in detention centres, giving us hope and a sense of belonging. Refugees amongst our community have spent many years in detention centres, each year living in constant fear of their future and coping with mental health issues, refusing to give up on their journey to justice and freedom. Refugees do not deserve to be treated the way they have been for many years now. They are here with no other choice. They are here to be a part of a supportive community. We must come together and continue to raise our voices until permanent protection and justice for all refugees is granted. 10 years is enough.
10 years is enough! 10 years is enough! 10 years.
Thank you for everyone to watch this video, and now we're gonna hear from connection is
Hi everyone.
Oh, we love
Wait.
living rural.
Yeah, this is the joy of living in Villa Villa. So you know, we know lots of you also come from rural communities, so we know you totally understand what the joy is. So we're back. So we now come to a very exciting part where Priya is going to share her opinion and her views. And we have asked her to do that in Tamil so that we can properly hear what she wants to say. And I know we all love it when we get to hear the beautiful Tamil as well. And lovely Vashini is going to interpret for us. So yeah, enjoy.
என்னோட இது சிம்பிள் ரிக்வெஸ்ட் தான். ஏன்னா எனக்கு வந்த பேட் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் மற்ற ரிவ்யூச்சிக்கு வரக்கூடாதுன்றதால இதை ஒரு உணர்வு பூர்வமா நான் பதிவு பண்ண விரும்புகிறேன். இந்த 31 ரிவ்யூச்சிக்கும் 31,000 ரூபாய்க்கு இந்த பாஸ்ட் ட்ராக்குக்குள்ள ஒரு இன்டர்வியூ எடுத்து அந்த கேஸை டிசைட் பண்ணது ஒரு நியாயமற்ற ஒரு விஷயம்.
Hello everyone. I would like to share my experience with you all, how it's like to be living in 10 years living in this situation. And I think this is going to be a bit emotional to you all, because that's a life we have been living for 10 years. And also I'm gonna address about the fast track, and then how the 30,000 people need permanent visa now.
எங்களுக்கு 10 வருஷத்துக்கு முதல் எடுக்கிற இன்டர்வியூ 10வது 10 இயர்ஸுக்கு பிறகு எடுக்கிறதுக்கு ஒரு டிட்டெயினியும் அத மனநிலையில நாங்க இருக்கிறது இல்ல. மற்றது எங்களுக்கு இன்டர்வியூ எடுக்கும் போது போன் வழியாகவே எடுக்கிறாங்க. ஒரு 1 பர்சனும் இன்டர்பிரட்டரும் நாங்க ஒரு டிட்டெயினியும் அந்த போன்ல இருந்து அந்த எங்களுக்கு வர்ற ஒருத்தர் எடுக்கிற டிசைட் எங்களோட வாழ்க்கையை நிர்ணயிக்குது. இது ஒரு சாத்தியப்படாதது. அவருக்கு ஸ்ரீலங்காவோட ஹிஸ்டரிய பத்தி எதுவுமே தெரியாத பர்சன் வந்து சில சந்தர்ப்பத்துல துரதிருஷ்டவசமாக இன்டர்வியூ எடுப்பார்.
I believe the fast track system was unfair, because the people come here to interview us, and the interpreter who are come here to help us have no idea, have no knowledge about what's happened in Sri Lanka for Tamil. I think the many people were like that because Sri Lanka always pretended to be a tourist place, and people doesn't have any idea how people how Tamil people are treated badly. And then how also because of that the immigration ministers doesn't have the knowledge about what Tamil been through.
நாங்க டூ லேட்டா போயிட்டு இப்ப எங்களுக்கு இதுக்கு மேல எங்களால போராட முடியாது, எங்களுக்கு லீகல் சேலஞ்ச் பண்ண முடியாது, கோர்ட்ல இருக்கிற பாலிசி வந்து எங்களுக்கு சாதகமா இல்ல. நாங்க அப்படியே அந்த கோர்ட்ஸுக்கு லீகலா நாங்க போராடினாலும் ஒரு சில கேஸ் ஜெயிச்சாலும் அது திருப்பி டிபார்ட்மெண்ட்டுக்கு தான் போகும். எங்களுக்கு அந்த பாலிசியில சிஸ்டத்துல மாற்றம் வந்தா தான் எங்களுக்கான இது கிடைக்கும். அது எங்களுக்கு இனிமேல் சாத்தியப்படாது. நீங்க விசா கிரேட் பார்க்காதீங்க, செஃப் விசா, பெர்மனன்ட் 5 இயர்ஸ் விசா, டிபி விசா என்று பார்க்காம எங்களுக்கு இந்த 31,000 பேருக்கு நிரந்தர விசா, மெடிக்கல், ஸ்டடி ரைட்ஸ் எல்லாம் உடனடியாக கொடுக்க வேணும். காலம் தாழ்த்த எங்களுக்கு எல்லாம் அவரவர் குடும்பத்தோட இணைய வேணும். அவங்களும் ஹார்ட் ஒர்க் பண்ணுவாங்க. அவங்களும் இந்த ஆஸ்திரேலியாவோட எக்கானமிக்க பில்ட் பண்ண ரெடியா இருக்காங்க. பிளீஸ் எங்களால ப்ளீஸ் பண்ணி மட்டும்தான் உங்கள்கிட்ட கேட்க முடியும். எங்களுக்கு இந்த ரூல்ஸ் பாலிசி இதெல்லாம் இனி எங்களுக்கு காலம் கடந்து போயிட்டு நாங்க டூ டயர்ட் ஆயிட்டோம். கண்டிப்பா அவங்க எல்லாரும் குடும்பத்தோட இணையணுமென்றதான் எங்களோட விருப்பம். அவங்களுக்கு ஒரு பெர்மனன்ட் விசா கொடுக்கணுமென்ற என்னோட கோரிக்கை.
It's been 10 years, and then we can't keep people like us, we can't keep repeating the process. Like, you have to go to the federal court, federal circuit court, high court. And even though if we go through those systems, we don't have that policy to help the refugee. The policy to made us to specifically to made us fail. So I believe rather than going back to all this processing again, just grant everyone a permanent visa. So that's a solution we need. We don't want it to go through the interview again. We don't want it to go through all this process that was created to fail us. So I'm asking everyone that this has been enough. 10 years been enough, and we don't want to repeat ourselves doing this anymore. and we have to see our family members. We have to be with our family members, and we wanted to build our future. So so I'm asking everyone that, you know, this has to have a come to an end. We came to the point that we had enough, and we need grant permanent resident everyone, so we can live our life peacefully. பிரியாக்கா, நீங்க வந்து உங்களோட எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் வந்து சொல்ல போறீங்களா? நீங்க 10 வருஷமா
எனக்கு நடந்த என்னோட பேட் திங் என்னன்னா, ஒரு நியாயமற்ற முறையில நடத்தப்பட்டது. அது எனக்கு ஒரு பேட் திங். எனக்கு வந்த எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் மற்றவங்களுக்கு வர வேண்டாம். குட் திங் என்னன்னா, நான் ஸ்ட்ராங்கா இருந்தேன். என்னோட உரிமைக்காக நான் நியாயமா போராடி பெற வேணும் என்றதுக்கு தள்ளப்பட்டதால நான் பாசிட்டிவ் மைண்டோட ஸ்ட்ராங்கா இருந்தேன். என்னோட உரிமையோட நான் வெளியில வரணும் என்று சொல்லி போராடினேன். நான் தன்னம்பிக்கையோட இருந்தேன். நான் திருப்பி வந்திருக்கிறேன். அதுதான் என்னோட குட் திங்ஸ். நம்பிக்கை, உங்களோட உரிமைக்காக குரல் கொடுங்க, தன்னம்பிக்கையோட இருங்க.
All I'm asking is what happened to past 10 years with me, the experience. The negative thing was happened to me. It was I was taken away from my home. The whole thing happened to me was injustice. That was the experience that I shouldn't have experienced in my life. But the positively, I'm asking everyone, keep your hope up. Don't lose your faith, and keep up your fighting for your human, like, you know, for your rights, and that will help you to reach the point, you know, that will help you to reach the point where you can build your life again. So I'm asking everyone to stay positive. I know it's hard, but I'm asking everyone to stay positive and keeps your hopes up, and we can achieve our dreams.
Thank you, Vashini.
Thank you all.
So in order to make this happen, we of course have an ask for all of you, and it is not a hard ask. We are asking for one phone call. We are asking for all of you to pick up your phones tomorrow, phone your MPs, and ask them to grant the 31,000 people who have been subjected to Scott Morrison's unfair refugee system to be granted permanent visas now. Now, you will probably get a lot of those MPs saying, oh, don't worry, we've promised that and we're doing that. But they are only talking about 19,000. They are only talking about the people on TPVs and Chevs. We want visas for all the people who have fallen victim to the fast track system. All the people just like Priya and her family who would have been in this situation. So demand it for 31,000. Now, we are going to put a link in the chat, which is to our Do Gooder page, which if you go to that page, you'll be able to type in your postcode to get your MP. You will also see some talking points there, which will help you with what to say. So, without much further ado, we are going to be turning on our cameras and doing a group photo. But what is a group photo without the children? So, Kopika and Tani, I'm going to come across. And Kopika, keep going over.
That's right.
These girls have been being very quiet while we've been doing this. Girls, would you like to say hello to all the people across Australia? Would you like to give everyone a wave?
Hi guys.
Can you see all the faces?
Look at all the faces there.
They're all there's
So We're going to take our group photos now. So if everybody can please make sure their cameras are on. And if you've got a cockatoo, hold it up. If you've got signs that say permanent visas now, hold those up and smile. And we will, or frown, whichever way you want the message. And it'll take a little while to scroll through all the screens. So hold those up for a little while. And while they go through and get all the photos, and they're going to let me know once we're done.
Okay. And how about girls? While we're making everyone freeze, how about we sing a song?
Yeah.
Yeah? Which song will we sing?
Mr. Moon.
Mr. Moon?
Yeah.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Mr. Moon.
Moon, Mr. Silver Moon, please come down on me. Oh, Mr. Moon, Moon, Mr. Silver Moon, please come down on me. I'm so purple for no asking. Please come on to it to play with. Oh, Mr. Moon, Moon, Mr. Silver Moon, please come down on me.
Beautiful.
So good.
Okay. We're still taking photos. So what other song can we sing? Will we do Twinkle Twinkle?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, ready?
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, watching up above the world so high, like a diamond star. Twinkle, twinkle,
Beautiful. As you can see, their singing voices are still going strong.
Yes.
Okie dokie. I'm just waiting for confirmation from tech support that we are done.
And maybe still going.
Maybe just a couple
So
minutes.
hold that smile, or hold
Keep
the
smiling.
hold the sign, hold the cockatoo.
Okay, we are done.
Oh, good. So and then tomorrow, yeah, everyone's got a job to do tomorrow to ring their politician.
Yes, so we would like to thank you all for coming and joining us tonight. We are just so thrilled that you're all here. I have actually seen a couple of you doing our time-honoured tradition. So let's end this call once again with a big group hug. Are you ready, girls? We're going to give everyone a big group hug. Ready? And sending lots of love and hope to everyone from Billawilla. And let's make this happen. Let's get permanent visas now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you, everyone, and good night.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.